All right. Hey, everyone. Tom Hazard here. Welcome. It is, let's see, May the 10th. And I am um, solo this week. Tracy's on the road. And I've got a great topic that I am very excited to share with all of you and that I kind of geek out on. So I'm going to just share with you up front that um, I'm going to try and keep this very interesting and relevant for all of you and not too technical because I don't want to bore anyone. But this is a very important topic for podcasters regarding your websites, what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to start the episode here shortly. And I've got a couple cautionary tales as examples I'm going to share in this one regarding what your podcast website or websites in general that hopefully everybody will find useful. And I guess here we go. And after, obviously, have the normal opportunity for questions, answers, discussion of anybody who's here live in Zoom. And then obviously, if you're on social, you can type in a question as I'm talking on today's topic if you have a question related to that, and we'll address it in about 20 minutes when the recording is done. Okay, so here we go. Hey there, welcome back to Feed Your Brand. I'm Tom Hazard, your host, and today I'm going to talk about unveiling the secrets, what no one tells you about website revamps. And I have to say, I'm very passionate about this. I kind of geek out on it. I'm going to give you a little fair warning, although I'm going to try not to get terribly technical and in the weeds here too much. But you can consider this a podcaster public service announcement. And really, I think not only for podcasters, anybody listening to this podcast or watching this video who has a website and is considering revamping it or has revamped their website recently, you want to listen to this because you probably don't know, if you've already revamped your site, there's some things that you may not even know to check on and make sure that we're done properly that could be killing your discoverability, really tanking your website analytics. And if you're considering redoing your website, revamping your website sometime soon, you need to know about some of these things to ask the right questions of whoever is working on your website. Now, this is kind of like one of those old TV shows where we've changed the names to protect the innocent and, type of thing. I'm going to be a little bit anonymous and not going to out anyone here. Yeah, but I do have a couple of cautionary tales, a couple of recent examples that really motivated me and made me realize I had to share this information with all of our podcast listeners, our podcast customers. So because I've just seen so many people make some big mistakes, some unforced errors they didn't need to make had they known to ask the right questions of their resource. So let me take example A right off the bat. Existing podcasters, been a done for you podetize customer for probably 4 years, I think. And in fact, when it came to their podcast website, Podetize created it for them. And we do that for about 5% of our customers who need that. Now, this is not about us building a website. Their first podcast website had grown over years, gained a lot of keyword rankings, a lot of organic traffic, and they had about, they had on this particular show, something in the neighborhood of 80 or 83 podcast blogs, comprehensive ones on their website. And their website had a lot of backlinks, had a lot of keyword rankings, and was getting organic traffic from Google search. Well, this company just decided on their own, hey, we need to update our branding for our business and our podcast. They didn't even tell us they were doing it. They figured, hey, we need some professional branding expert to do this, and they redo their show brand. And this company, who they hired a website development company that's all they do, nothing to do with podcasting, to build them a brand new website along with their new brand for their business and what became a revamp of the brand for the show. And then they told us about it when it was new, and hey, they we need you to post our new blogs for new episodes to this new website. Okay, fine. Well, this web developer told them, oh yeah, they'd create them a new website and that they would transfer all of their blogs from the old website to the new website. Well, after the job was done, after they paid that other web developer and they have us start doing their new episodes on the new website, we go into their website as we do with every done for you podcast customer to post new blogs. We're in their website and there were only 4 of their 80 blogs in there. And even those 4 were not properly copied over, configured for SEO. And I'm going to talk about a couple of details again, without getting into the weeds of every nitty gritty technical detail, but just an example so you can understand what's so critical about this is that this company sold them on doing it all for them and didn't do it all for them. Essentially did not convert all of their blogs from one website to the other. And these were both WordPress websites, completely compatible. You can export from one and import into the other. So they ended up seeking our support to do that, and we did it. But here is the scary part, is not just to make sure and when you engage with someone to build you a new website, make sure that you're very clear with them and they are clear and understand and confirm in writing that they are going to transfer all the content from the old site to the new site. Very critical. But also that they're going to maintain all of the what we call permalinks. Now you might say, what's a permalink? Well, it's a URL. If you click into any page of a website or any blog of a website, there's this long string, yourwebsite.com, and then this long, usually code, name, dashes in it, all sorts of things that represents a page on the website. That link, that URL is the permalink, and you don't ever want it to change. This is the real fundamental thing, because Google gets to know your website over months and years. It has indexed the website, meaning it has a map of the whole site. It knows all the pages there. It's crawled through every page and read all the words and associated those words with search results in their search bar. And if you change that URL of those pages, any of those pages, it breaks all that information and Google has to start all over again. So what happened with this podcast customer, when all their blogs were not transferred over and the ones that were didn't have the same URL, to Google, this is a new website and it's a new blog and it doesn't trust it yet. And this podcaster lost a huge amount of value, equity that had been built in their website, in their domain name within Google. And they end up coming to us and we have to do some triage and pick up the pieces and restore all those blogs. But those permalinks are critical. And so this customer lost an awful lot of Google traffic, Google ranking. It did build back up because you can fix these things. It just takes time and it doesn't happen immediately. So if you go too far in making changes to your website and you're rebuilding everything from scratch, it's important to know that Google understands revamping websites, creating a new website. You can, within a 30-day period, changing from one site to another, you won't lose everything. It's not like every time you revamp a website, you're going to start from zero. No, in fact, hopefully you don't lose anything, but you've got to maintain all those pages and all those links, especially for the blogs. Now, another thing that happens when you create a new website, if you've changed, even if all the content's there, all the pages are there, and you've changed those permalinks, you've changed, the identity of those pages out on the internet, you also might have a lot of backlinks that get broken. What are backlinks? Well, backlinks are a link from someone else's website to a page on your website. So you can imagine, if you're a podcaster, you've been creating and publishing podcasts for years with guests that have their own websites, and they then might have a media page, a press page, an about page where they've got information about, hey, I was on this person's podcast, and here's a link to it from my website to a page on their website. You revamp your website and that link changes. Now you've got a broken link. When somebody clicks it on that guest website, it brings up a 404 error, doesn't go anywhere if that link that was not maintained. Now, two ways you can accomplish this. You don't want to have to rely on communicating with the guest and say, here's a new link, would you update it on your website? I think it has a very low percentage of success, of probability of actually happening. What's better is, you know what the link was to the page on your website, because it was a page on your website, and you, I'm sure, have that information or had that information. If for some reason you cannot maintain all of the permalinks, all the original URLs for those pages on your website, which is, by the way, the number one recommendation, as I said before, maintain all those links. Just because you revamp a website or you build a whole new one does not mean any of those links need to change. That they can all be the same. But let's say there's a good reason why they needed to change. Well, then you have to make sure your web developer, if they're going to do that, creates a complete list of what are called 301 redirects. This would be in your website. It says, hey, anybody who comes into my website to this link, that's the old one, instead go to this link. So they get to the resulting same page. That's okay too, because Google will see that and eventually update their indexing and change what page that the search results go to. So a 301, proper 301 redirects will also work in that situation. And you need to just make sure you maintain this. Otherwise, I mean, you're just going to lose so much value, so much equity. Your website will become a ghost on the internet, and you don't want that. You know, all of us that are podcasting, that have our podcast pages on our website and have a blog for every episode, it's tremendous value in that. And you've heard us say this on many episodes of Feed Your Brand. There was just huge value. I still, you know, any of you listening to this as a test, go to Google right now and type in worst podcast websites. And I'm sure even if you're listening to this a year after I've recorded and published this episode, it's probably going to be the same, because it's been about 5 years since that episode of Feed Your Brand published, which is about the best and worst podcast websites. And that blog still comes up on the first page of Google search 5 years later for that search term. That's the kind of value I'm talking about. We get people come to our website, learning about our company who didn't know us, learning about our podcast who didn't know about it, and weren't even looking for a podcast, but they were searching on Google for something about websites, and that blog post comes up. That's the kind of value I'm talking about. You can lose in an instant when you revamp your website or rebuild your website, and you either hire someone to do it who doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't care. All they wanted was to get your money and build you a new website without having to worry about all those technical details of making sure all of those permalinks are maintained going forward or properly redirected, as I said, is another, I would say, second best option. You can hurt yourself tremendously. So now the third thing I want to talk about in this episode, you know, we talked about revamping your website and not maintaining permalinks. You want to do the same. If you can't do it, you got to do redirects. Okay. Well, I encountered another situation very recently. It's another cautionary tale. This podcaster has been doing a great job for 3 years at least since they started their show. And they just made an internal decision with their web developer that they wanted to change a part of the structure of their website. And their website had the structure of their domain name / podcasts, plural, is where their podcast page was. And then all the blogs were underneath that. And they wanted to change it to podcast, singular. And they also decided even though the best permalink for SEO is a long string of text where the title of the episode is a part of that permalink, that is an SEO best practice, that they wanted to change it and make it so that people could just go to their website name /podcast / the guest name, first name, last name, as one word, and make it easier for them to talk about episodes. And they started to change permalinks, do all the stuff, and it created a huge hassle. And the reason I'm sharing this, recent experience with you is there was a good way to handle that. Now, you want to make the change in the structure of the website from podcasts to, you could do that. You need to put in a redirect that is going to catch everything that was under what that old name was to the new one. And you can do that as a global redirect, what they call a wildcard type of a redirect. Just, hey, everything that went here instead go there. Basic thing. But when it comes to that permalink of doing the guest name, a guest name is a really bad permalink to have for your episode, because, well, for a number of reasons. One is, well, do they have a funny spelling of the name? Are people going to understand that? But it's also short. It doesn't have anything to do with the title of the episode. Rarely do we title an episode as a podcaster only the guest name. There's some longer title that's better for SEO. It's more about what's in it for the listener. What are they going to get when they listen to this episode? Then they're searching on the guest name. Now, the guest name can be a part of the title. It can also be a part of the permalink if you want it to be, but it shouldn't be the only part of it. And so we came up with a strategy to help this customer out where, it's just easier for you, the host, as you're talking about an episode, as you're emailing someone about an episode, as you're maybe speaking from the stage, as this customer did at an event, and said, hey, you need to listen to this episode, go to mywebsite.com / guest name. They wanted to be able to say that. Well, that's wonderful. You can do that. You can create a 301 redirect for anything you want. You can make up anything. You can make it mywebsite.com / episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, if that's easy for you, or the guest name as one word, or the guest name first name - last name, whatever convention you want. You can do that, but you create a short URL, easier for people to remember, that will redirect people to the existing long permalink, the existing URL that's better for SEO, that has really what the title of that blog article episode is. And so you can accomplish all these things and make it easy for you as a host to remember and say, oh, you're interested in this? Go listen to that episode. And you can text them a link and it's easy for you to remember, to remember that whole long, crazy string. Wonderful. Just do it in the right way. And don't trip on an unintended landmine that's going to blow up your website SEO, your rankings, and your traffic. So that's, again, the overall point that I want to share with you today, and try to save you some headache, unlike these other two recent Podetize customers had, where they were trying to improve their businesses. They were trying to improve their websites for good reasons. And like I said at the beginning, if you want to update or revamp your website, wonderful, please do. I'm all in support of that. And anybody really should be who supports you. But you've got to make sure you know what you're getting into, that you're doing it the right way, that the resource that you hire, if you're not doing it yourself, knows what they're doing, and ask the right questions. Hey, you're going to build this website, you're going to revamp my website. Are all the permalinks going to be the same as they are for every page and every blog? Make sure the answer to that is Yes. And that if they don't do it at the end of the day, they're responsible for doing it. So you don't have to hire someone else to pick up the pieces, as a couple of our customers did. And if they're not, if there's a good reason why they're not going to maintain all those permalinks, then are they going to, as a part of their service, take the time to create all those proper redirects, especially so all those backlinks that have been built up from other websites are the same. So people don't click a link from someone else's website and end up with a 404 page, sorry, file not found on your website. No one wants that. People are going to say, oh, great, bad link, forget it. Next, on to the next thing. Just got to make sure you think about these things, and probably more. Although today, all I'm talking about is these, few key things is, maintaining all the content. Remember, there were three things: maintaining all the blogs from the start. Second thing is maintaining the permalinks. Third thing is maintaining the backlinks. And for both of those, permalinks and backlinks, if they can't be completely maintained, you got to have them redirected. All right. So that's my sort of cautionary tale podcaster public service announcement for today. I hope you find it useful. I know this is a podcast show, that's true, but as you know, if you've listened to this show for many episodes at all, you know that a key part of your platform as a podcaster is your website. And if you don't have one, then I highly recommend you get one. And I highly recommend you get one on WordPress if you have the opportunity to choose that platform, only because in our experience, it's the most in alignment with Google, easiest to get ranked on and get traffic coming to your website. And one other thing I will share is that Podetize does offer a website maintenance subscription to our customers as an option. You have to be a podcaster. So if you're, listening to this podcast and you're not yet a podcaster, we don't just do that for anybody off the street. You have to be a podcaster, and we only provide website maintenance on WordPress websites because it's a very good system. We know what we're doing and we do an excellent job of it. But you can get anything fixed on your website with a good website maintenance subscription. You can reach out to us at podetize.com if you are interested in that or have any questions about it. Not meant to be a shameless plug, but I'm just wanting to let you know there are resources to help you if you need it. If you don't have a good resource, you can get one. But regardless of how you do it, please just make sure you take care not to really kill all this great equity and value that you are building in your website through your podcast. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you find value in that. Tracy and I'll be back next time together with another great episode. Until then, I'm signing off. This is Tom on Feed Your Brand. Okay, let's see. Couple questions. Yes, Charlie, you're in great shape with George's for your podcast. Trace, thanks, Nazanin. You know what? You can put that link for website maintenance if you want to post that on the social platforms as a comment, because I was just talking about it. That way those people have it. Anybody here on, live on the webinar, you certainly can just reach out to us if you're interested in website maintenance. I know some of you on here already have it, at least a couple of you. And some of you may not need it if you have other resources that do it for you, and that's great too. We don't have to do it. It's just available. So I got to tell you, so just again, I was sort of not sharing the names, but really literally in the last month, 2 customers, one of them just said, oh, we hired this agency, and the agency wanted the keys to the castle. I told you the first one, we built their website, and we did. It was just a podcast website, and then they expanded it for their business over time. And that third-party company wanted the keys to the castle to get at their website. And I warned them, and I talked to the clients, are you sure you want them to have this? And we, transferred control of their website to themselves. and they'll let this other place do it. And I realize now, as I'm a little more is coming back to me about this. This is about 2 months ago, really, but a little more is coming back to me. I forgot, and it probably would have made more impact on that podcast had I remembered this. But that third party developer not only did not maintain all the permalinks of their episodes, in fact, they deleted their blogs, all but 4 of them out of 80 some odd blogs. They deleted all of them. And that probably would have made a much better episode had I remembered that. But this, again, as we're talking about this, memory's coming back a little bit. They deleted their blogs from their website, and we had all the information because we save everything at Podetize to recreate the blogs, but there was no way to undo what they had done and just undelete them. This other company, in creating their new, revamping their website, redoing the branding, just didn't take care, and they really essentially replaced the website on the hosting platform with a new one, and that effectively deleted all their blogs. So they lost all that value. And then they had to we had to charge them. I hated to do it, and they understood it, but I had to charge them to have us recreate all the blogs, because that's a lot of labor. I mean, fortunately, we didn't have to do all the work, so it was per episode, not tremendously expensive, but we had to completely go in and recreate the way we would for any episode. Once the work is done offline, we go into the website, recreate, reload all the images, redo all the SEO, redo all the tags, and everything. I mean, just creating a blog in its entirety, having the content, but it's a lot of work, and it cost that customer quite a bit. And the other one realized after the fact, when they changed from podcasts to podcast, that they ended up with all these broken links everywhere, and had to go in and do a triage and redo create redirects that were fixing things after the fact. And all I'm suggesting is, before you make a big change like that, just ask some questions, and feel free, if you want to reach out to us and ask some questions. Hey, what should I be asking? We'll be happy to tell you. What do you need to be careful of? Because it's very painful when you make such a mistake. I'm curious, anybody else, either in social or here on Zoom, have any time you made a big mistake like that with something similar, either your website or something else, that you didn't realize was going to be such a pain? I'm just curious. Not that you have to share. I know it can be embarrassing. I've made some mistakes. I mean, definitely. So very important. We all learn. Oh, seeing a YouTube channel get deleted. There's a comment. Thank you for sharing that, Scott. Yeah, that's ouch. Were you able to get it? 800 plus videos gone. Were you able to get them back, or did you have to recreate and re-upload? Nope, wasn't able to get it back. Wow. So that's a whole nother issue. I mean, YouTube and an outside platform is something you don't have as much control over as your own website. So I can imagine that's particularly painful. 800 videos gone when a YouTube channel got deleted. Boy, I hope that doesn't happen. But another good learning experience from this is, if you think once you've put a video up on YouTube, that's great, you don't have to save it offline anywhere, I would highly recommend you reconsider that and make sure you always save all of your videos in a cloud drive, either online or on a backup drive offline. And Scott's mentioning he started backing up his on Vimeo, not just having them on YouTube. That's another good thing you can do. But we have every video we've ever created, not only for ourselves, but for our customers, saved in Dropbox. We have a Dropbox there. Yeah, good job. Kevin Warren's commenting he saves every video on a backup drive offline just for that reason. Good job. Highly recommend that. We save everything in Dropbox. That's our backup, and we have an unlimited Dropbox. Last I looked, we had 60 terabytes of data in our company Dropbox. So, okay, Scott is asking a question. What about making sure all pages of your website are HTTPS so it's searched versus just HTTP? Um, so I don't know how that relates to like the permalink question or anything else, or losing things, Scott, but I'll tell you, every website we work with these days, every customer website, every website we encounter has to be HTTPS, has to have a secure certificate. It is such a problem today. Really, the days of having a website that doesn't have a secure certificate, and that's what that means for those of you that may not understand. Having a you have to have a website that is secure by modern standards, and that means having a secure certificate. And if you don't know what that is and don't want to know what that is, as long as you have somebody supporting you on your website, then you're fine. Just make sure that your website is secure. Ask them, make sure you have a certificate. Doesn't have to cost any money. It went on the websites we create and how we host them. It costs nothing, but it makes it so that every page of the website is under HTTPS, which is a secure sockets layer. SSL is what that means. And whenever you create a new website, you have to add a new certificate. Sorry there, folks. A little got a little breathe something in there, a little tickle in my throat. Anyway, so you do need all your websites need to be HTTPS, and here's why. If you have a brand new website you're created and you haven't added a secure certificate to it yet, that's sort of the most typical situation these days, where you'd encounter a website that does not have one. Or if you encounter some other website, which might be a dangerous website, a predator website, although if they're being any good at it, they put an SSL certificate on it so that they don't scare people off. But if you use a browser, like I use Chrome browser as my default browser. I know some people use other things, Safari or Edge or whatever, but I can tell you on Chrome, if you visit a website that does not have an SSL certificate, Google warns you, Google Chrome warns you. It says, hey, this website is not secure, and it gives you a warning. And if you want to proceed to the website, even though they think it's unsafe, that any data your computer communicates to that website is not encrypted, is part of what it means. Then it warns you, and then you can decide not to go to that website. Or, no, this is my own site, it's new, it doesn't have a certificate yet, I still want to go there. It's okay, you can proceed. It gives you the option to proceed on your own. But not many people are going to visit your website at all these days if you don't have HTTPS. So when people type in a domain name just into a browser, and you go to podetize.com and you don't type in www, you don't type HTTPS, you don't type anything, the browsers these days are typically routing you to the HTTPS version of that domain by default, because it is safer. So that's typically, they're going to try to send it there, and only if it doesn't exist, give you the option to go to the unsecure. And this is sort of a new thing on the modern internet. I mean, gosh, a business we were operating more than 20 years ago now, in internet 1.0, where all websites were hard coded. We didn't have WordPress, and we had to, we had an outside company doing all that work and had to code our own shopping carts into websites. I mean, you couldn't just use one that exists. It was definitely the early days of the internet, and HTTPS didn't even exist at that time. But we've definitely gotten to internet 2.0 plus, and probably soon going to be at 3.0 here, where SSL is required. So don't even question it. Have to have it. Anything else anybody is struggling with, concerned about, wants to share or talk about, feel free. If you're here on Zoom, type a comment in there, and or on social. Love to. We're keeping an eye on it, and this is your opportunity. Let's see. Let's see. Excuse me. Ooh. So Scott Carson's posted he's doing a 30-day challenge, video challenge for himself across YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc. with podcasts. So Scott, what does that challenge mean? A video challenge just to post a new one every day?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to see what's working best as far as what's getting picked up. And comparing views a little bit different time, tracking engagement, tracking how each platform grows for me personally. Doing a YouTube short every day, but that same YouTube short video, I'm sharing it across Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and my LinkedIn as well. And then the longer form content is those are podcast episodes. So just keeping track, everything going down, like, okay, how many views do we get? How many, what's the average view across these? What's the average download number? What's the average engagement on that platform as far as new followers and stuff like that? So
fantastic. I think it's a great experiment, really. A challenge, and really you're saying you're doing it everywhere because you're trying to learn something about which ones are more effective, right?
yeah, I mean, I've kind of seen some things. I mean, when we do a YouTube short, we're getting about 200, somewhere between 100 and 200 views. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a little less on that. But that same thing gets a couple hundred views on our Instagram, and then on TikTok, it may be 300 views or up to 2,000 views. This is just different. I mean, we're getting, and then if it's the same, if it's a longer form video, it's a podcast episode, it gets quite a few views on YouTube, but then it also, we see about 200 to 300 downloads in the first 30 days of it as a podcast too. So just tracking all the matrices and coming back and to give a bit of an average. We're updating some of our, doing it more so than anything else for our vendor package, so that when we reach out to new sponsors and stuff like that, we say, hey, if we're doing this and you're mentioned, boom, here's a bit of an idea on our metrics.
That's really important, Scott. I think it's great that you're doing that. Now, obviously you're doing an awful lot, 1, 2, 3, 4, even more social platforms. That's a lot, but as a 30-day challenge and to get a feedback loop and see what's working, I think it makes a lot of sense. We find that some people have been experimenting with different platforms and finding maybe TikTok doesn't work for them, but Instagram does, and things like that. And you mentioned sponsors and mentioning them. Actually, another interesting thing, I don't think I've mentioned this before on a coaching call, but one of our podcasters who has a show called Weekend Crafting Adventures and has quite a following on Instagram and has discovered it by experimenting. TikTok was not where her audience is. Found Instagram is. And then she did a video, a short, for one of her weekend crafting adventures, posted it on Instagram, where she was somehow is a part of this crafting adventure. There was a little video she made about making a drink with Tito's handmade vodka, and she tagged them in the post. And Tito's saw it, took her video, put a little different music behind it, gave her props, tagged her, put it back out, and it got seen by over 1 million people.
Wow.
So her podcast got shared and linked to it, shared by Tito's handmade vodka with all those people. So my point is, what you're doing with vendors and things, Scott, and you share them and they reciprocate and share you, that can be very helpful.
Yeah, it definitely can be. What's funny, in my niche of note investing, I'm probably the most savviest marketer out there. So trying to get people to share. that's just, that's always the most difficult thing with anybody out there. But yeah, tagging them and going back and making sure my VAs are tagging them in the posts and stuff like that too. It's always interesting. Steph's having an easier time with that with some of her podcast stuff, but yeah, definitely. Maybe I just need to start tagging alcohol brands in everything I do, and have a glass of Tito's here. The vodka that most note investors love to drink. You know what I mean?
The vodka or the tequila or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. The tequila of all sponsored by Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, look, it may not work for everybody, but there's ways to, get attention and exposure. And, sometimes we just experiment. And I think what you're doing with the 30-day video challenge, you're going to learn a lot. And so honestly, the fact that you're doing the 30-day video challenge is just evidence of how much of a master marketer you are. You're very advanced. And so you're right. Probably a lot of your vendors don't have near the following you do.
No, but it's also led to us opening some doors. Like we got a couple sponsored episodes from a couple folks that saw our videos that reached out to me when I was at FinCon. And with that coming up and some other things, I was like, okay, let's double down and start looking at some of the stuff and really dive back into it.
I think that Stephanie's podcast, which is about pets,
Yep.
a lot of opportunity for exposure there. Doing some similar tactics, or if you're using some company's product and you do a little short showing that and you put it out and you tag them, they may push it out to their whole following, and so that could raise awareness of her podcast.
Totally. We just got back. Actually, we went last month to the Global Pet Expo in Orlando, which is the biggest trade show for pets. 5,000 plus booths of different products, stuff like that. It was overwhelming. So yeah, definitely came back with a treasure trove of contacts, and she's actually got a few folks that she's reached out to speak on her podcast upcoming. So
that's awesome.
26 episodes uploaded now. So
I'm thrilled. Gosh, how many years were we talking about that podcast? And
we're talking several years, but she's doing it. That's the good thing.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. This is a very positive thing. I mean, we're trying to encourage her to do a podcast on pets for years, and had the logo and everything, and finally she's doing it. So that's awesome.
Good stuff, bud. Well, thanks, man. I gotta run. Talk to you later.
Okay, Scott, thank you for contributing and talking with me today. All right, let's see. Well, that's interesting. 30-day video challenge. Awesome. Let's see, any other questions or thoughts? And if not, I don't have to keep everyone on today. Next week's topic is using a podcast guest funnel to find guests, and if you're in business, clients too. So that'll be fun. Tracy will be back for that one with me. And that's important because Tracy is much more of a guest expert than I am, because every single episode of the Binge Factor has a guest. And so that should be a really good one. So you're going to want to come back for that. Let's see, last call for questions, comments on social or here in Zoom. And let's see. I don't see anything. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday at noon Pacific as usual. Until then, I hope everybody has a great week.